Hey guys, today's story is really more of extra detail on the wizard story, part 1. This is part 2 of a four-parter. This is primarily consisting of just extra details to flesh out the story a little bit more. If that doesn't interest you, go to part 3. Alright, before I begin into the aftermath of part 1, there are a few things I want to clarify that I went into in the comments, but if you didn't read them, you may not know. The first thing Wizard did wasn't bad in of itself. It was his reaction when the other characters wanted to move on that rubbed us the wrong way. It was perfectly reasonable for them to say, "Hey, this kid isn't the problem, and we need to hurry up and find the one who is." But the wizard snapped at them and complained about them ruining his plan, and refused to explain said plan. This may be controversial, but I don't actually have an issue with evil PCs or child murder in my game. If that's how the party wants to play the game, I'll DM it and be as gory as they want. But that wasn't how the party wanted to play the game. Out of character, they offered the wizard less destructive options to stop the kids from leaving, and he gave a lame excuse and used his spell anyway. So what he did went against my table's rules, but not for any moral reasons. Okay, on to the aftermath. This will probably take 2 parts on its own if I go into all the directions the discussion took, but I'll try to be concise. The morning after the session, I messaged the other players, asking for their perspective on what happened because I knew I needed to talk to Wizard, but I wanted to see how everyone else felt first. The feedback was pretty much what you would expect. They didn't understand why the wizard did what he did, didn't think he provided a reasonable excuse, and didn't appreciate him draining the fun out of the session. I wrote up what I considered to be a really polite message to Wizard and sent it. I worked very hard on making it not accusatory because the wizard has proven in the past to be very attached to his characters, and he is a friend, so I didn't want to hurt his feelings. None of us believed that his actions were meant to be harmful to the game, but he needed to know that they would have an impact to the story. So basically I said that he needs to be aware that his actions may have consequences. He claimed to have acted accordingly to his character, but the others have the right to do the same, and considering that they were upset about what happened, he should be prepared to make a backup character in case they decide that the character of Wizard is unwelcome in the party. Kicking the wizard, the player, out of the game in real life was something that never crossed our minds. As long as he refrained from such actions again, all that mattered was how this affected the story. So I stepped away from the decision entirely, allowing the players to decide whether their characters would want Wizard around anymore. At first it seemed like things would be fine. He replied that he understood that there would be consequences, and that was to be expected. I thought that would be it, until we played again. But man, was I wrong. That message was followed quickly by an exchange about how it would suck if the wizard had to leave because his previous character, the monk, also didn't fit with the group and had to leave. I pointed out that Monk left by his choice because he didn't want to evolve her into a team player. And I reminded him that Wizard did fit in, but had betrayed the party's trust. The two didn't really compare, but it didn't end there. He complained that nothing focused on his characters, that he didn't want to be the main character, but he wanted some focus on him. I reminded him about Monk's solo adventure that I ran one-on-one, and that I had told him I was planning a character-centric adventure when he retired her. Then he talked about how he put so much work into his characters, especially on the monk, and it sucks that no one finds them interesting. So I reminded him that it wasn't a lack of interest, but rather that the monk treated everyone but the druid with either disdain or indifference. She wasn't uninteresting, just unapproachable, and he ignored major events that he could have used to evolve her. By now, you've probably noticed that we were only talking about what was barely related to the initial problem, but I had to see it through. That's when it got really fun. He asked if he could give me some feedback as well, and I said sure. So he explained that he was really off-put by learning that I don't take notes as a DM. That it makes it seem like I don't care, even though he knows that I put in the effort. I pointed out that I don't really put in much effort, and that I've been pretty open about that. I write an outline and wing it. If it's important enough, I'll remember it. Now, I think I am very transparent about that fact that I'm not an amazing DM. My DM screen has a sticker that says, World's Okayest DM, and I joke all the time about how I'm just making it up as I go along. I'm not perfect, but no one else has stepped up, so I'm what they've got. So he moved on to the weirdest part of the exchange. He criticized me for acting like I know the game better than the rest of the group. He was very defensive about the fact that he runs campaigns too. Instead of arguing whether he or I know the game better, I reminded him that the rest of the party doesn't regularly run games. I may not know everything, but I 100% know more about the game than the other players do, and I'd bet money they would agree on that point. I see it as my job to know the game better than they do. He accused me of sounding condescending, but that's probably a valid point. I over-explain things because I hate being misunderstood, and I know I can come off as condescending. Finally, we get to the core of the issue. Our playstyles don't match. He would love something that was all RP, and I try to have a balance of combat and RP, since some players prefer one or the other, and the Paladin doesn't really enjoy the RP at all. He doesn't want a low-effort campaign of loosely connecting one-shots. He wants something more in-depth where his backstory is part of something bigger. I don't think we'll ever be the group he wants to be, and frankly, I don't want us to be. Then we got back to the actual topic. He wanted to post in our Discord channel to explain his in-character actions, and then maybe take some time off. I said that the others deserved the chance to discuss what happened in character, since he didn't the day when it happened. And he agreed to RP with them via text to sort things out. Well guys, the OP also stated that this was mostly just for getting things a little bit detailed out, and it's part 3 where he confronts the wizard, so that'll be the end of this one. Maybe part 3 and 4 get really spicy, so we'll have to see. But in any case, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have a story that you'd like me to narrate, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.